by request, chair yoga. Now, chair yoga is an amazing way to experience the benefits of yoga if you're taking it easy, if you're rehabilitating from an injury, or just to experiment and see if you can feel different muscles working. So today we're going to do a little bit of chair yoga. I would recommend, if possible, let me show you. I would recommend just a very simple, stable chair with a flat seat. Do not use, let's just put it out there. Do not use a swiveling office chair on wheels, things of that nature. Stable, simple, flat seat. Okay? Let's begin. If you've taken other classes with me, beginners, even intermediate, you know we begin with a warm-up, and we can do it from our seated position. So I'm seated on the edge of the chair. My back will probably never ever touch the back of the chair. We sit up tall. Take the breath in. Take the breath out. And we'll flex and extend the spine. I have my hands on my knees. As I inhale, I'm going to lift my chest, look up. In the back, my behind is lifting. Exhale, I'll curl up into a ball. Tuck my tailbone, tuck my chin bone, flex the spine. This is called flexion. Inhale, extension. Exhale, flexion. And just repeat this a few times. Hopefully, you will feel your pelvis sort of rocking under you. So when you inhale into extension, your tailbone lifts. When you exhale into flexion, your tailbone tucks. And if you're not quite that mobile, that's fine, as long as you're getting your rib cage to move. Flexion and extension. Okay, we come back to a seated position, nice and easy. And here we go side to side. Breath in, breath out, be mindful. And we just bend. I'm bringing my right ear to my right shoulder. And then I drop my right shoulder, inhale back to center. Left ear to left shoulder, drop the left shoulder. Inhale back to center. And just try to keep your hips level and even on the chair. We don't have to go super deep into these movements. We're just waking up the spine, waking up the breath, waking up the body, waking up the mind. We just go easy. Inhale up, exhale, bend. Inhale up, exhale, bend. It's nice and easy. Good. Let's go one more. Now we're back to center and pause. Next up is rotations. So we just double check, seated on the edge of our seat, sitting up nice and tall. Take a breath in, take a breath out. I'm going to turn to my right, and I'm using my trunk rotators to turn to the right. I can place my hand on my knee and maybe my hand on the chair, and then exhale, come back the other way. Rotate the other way. Adding your hands will provide a little bit of stability. Why not? It can help you rotate a little. We're just doing our best to keep the hips square, the spine long. We're just trying to turn on the axis of the spine. We exhale into the rotation. Inhale back to center. Exhale, rotation. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotation. Let's go one more. Back to center. And exhale. Good. Nice. So we've got the spine warmed up. We've got our breath warmed up. Let's go ahead and get into seated mountain pose. Okay. So we have our feet about hip width apart, if that's possible. Shins vertical, about a 90-degree on the legs, and we sit up tall. Now, as we're sitting up tall, we're trying to tuck our pelvis under us. So we don't want a big arch in the spine. We're trying to be neutral as possible. When we tuck the tailbone between the legs, it's called a posterior pelvic tilt. Some of us might need a slight posterior pelvic tilt. I do. I have a tendency to arch my back. We're trying to keep the ribs down, keep the belly firm. We pull our pelvic floor up into the body. The spine should be more or less straight. Arms by our side. Pull your shoulders down. Spread your fingers wide. And we breathe here. Forehead back, chin down. We can exhale through the mouth or exhale through the nose. We're just trying to get tall. We can think of sort of pushing ourselves away from the seat, the pelvis pushing down. That helps give us length through the spine. Shoulders down, forehead back, chin down. Breath in. Breath out. Let's go 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Try to keep your ribs down. Inhale. And exhale. Release. And just like we do in a non-chair class, you can shake your arms loose if you're feeling some tension build up, etc. Okay, now we'll try the hip hinge, the rearward shift. I'm going to turn sideways that you can see. You're not going to have to turn sideways if you don't want to, it's fine. Just imagine that I'm sitting on the edge of the seat. We'll start kind of in that mountain pose position, arms by our side if possible. A slight tilt of the posterior, slight posterior pelvic tilt through the hips, trying to keep the ribs down if we can. Breath in. Lock in your core. And now we hinge from the hips. We're trying to tilt out over the legs, but we're moving through the hips. The spine is going to stay fixed. The ribs are going to stay fixed. We're just trying to move through the hips. Now, if you should not be putting too much weight in your feet, it's okay if you back up a little bit. If you can tolerate it, we try to hinge forward. But if you can, look up at me. Notice my back is straight. I am not flexing my spine. I'm not curling up into a ball. I'm hinging forward from the hips. Breath in. Breath out. Engage your core. And we come back to seated mountain pose. Release. Good. Now turn and face you. And we'll work on balance poses, the equivalent of a balance pose. So again, we're double checking. Forehead back, chin down, spine straight, ribs down, and a lot of weight in our pelvis. Engage your core. So we pull the rectum up, pull the bladder in, and I'm going to lift my left foot just about 1 inch off the ground. Arms by my side, forehead back, chin down. Now the goal as we're doing this is to keep weight in your pelvis. So even though my foot is 1 inch or 2 off the ground, hopefully I'm upright. Like I'm not tilting to my right, I'm directly in the center. By doing this, we're working our core, strengthening our hip flexors. In a way, we are working on balance as well. A single-legged stance. One more breath in. One more breath out. Stay engaged. Bring your foot on the ground. Good. Nice and easy. And we switch sides. So we double check. Feet about hip width apart, 90-degree angles on the knees and the hips, a slight posterior pelvic tilt to keep us upright, core engaged if we can. Right foot comes off the ground just about an inch, but we're not going to shift around. We're not going to shift around. Normally, in a single-legged stance, we will shift to the leg that's on the ground, anchor that to the ground. But here we're seated, so we want to anchor the pelvis to the ground. Or I should say anchor the pelvis to the seat. And we're as upright as possible, not leaning to the left, not leaning to the right, not leaning forward, not leaning backward, just directly up, down, vertical as possible. The right foot is just an inch or so off the ground. One more breath in. One more breath out. We gently put that foot on the ground and release. Nice. Okay, next up we have Warrior Two. Now Warrior Two, we're going to have to shimmy and shuffle around a little bit. Press pause if you need to help get yourself set up. Here's what we try. We're going to set ourselves up so that the seat of the chair is supporting the entire thigh bone, in this case, of my left leg. So my left thigh bone is completely supported by the seat of the chair. I've got a 90-degree angle on my left knee, and my right leg is more or less straight, more or less in a Warrior Two type position. Now, if it's your right foot that's giving you trouble and you can't put weight on your right foot, it's okay. We just go into kind of a sumo stance here. Whatever you can do that's going to help you maintain your practice, get the core going, etc., we should be fine. If you can, we extend the rear leg out just like we would in a non-chair class. We try to squeeze the quadriceps straight, so we tone the leg, we tone our core. Rectum up, bladder in. Can we bring our arms to a T? And we hold and breathe. We're trying to have a complete footprint on that rear foot. We're trying to have the legs toned, the leg tone, I should say, in that rear leg. We're trying to have the core engaged, a slight posterior pelvic tilt. Steady breathing. 3, 2, 1. We gently release and we switch sides. So as we're doing these transitions, remember, engage your core. Keep your spine safe. Keep your spine braced. And we'll switch sides. And take your time. You see, I'm taking my time. I want to make sure that I'm shimmying and shuffling properly. Make sure we get set up. The flat part of the seat is supporting my right thigh. I'm going to try to straighten out my left leg. My left footprint on that rear leg. Try to get that sort of posterior pelvic tilt, making adjustments that I can that causes no pain. Okay? Arms out to a T when you're ready. And we hold and breathe. Now that the chair is supporting us, you might be able to feel the glutes working in both legs. Maybe something that you can't pick up on when we're doing non-chair yoga. Maybe now you can really concentrate on the core. Keep the ribs down. Posterior pelvic tilt. Squeezing that rear leg straight. A complete footprint on that rear foot. One more breath in. One more breath out. And release. Okay, side angle pose is next. Same thing. We're going to shimmy and shuffle around. No worries. Take our time. This is exactly why it's super important to have a stable, non-swiveling, non-moving chair. Just even for these transitions, it's so important. We have something stable with which to work. Okay, so we double check. The flat seat is supporting the left thigh. If we can, the right leg is straight, right quadriceps is toned. Now, we're going to take the front arm, the left arm, bend it to 90 degrees. We're going to lean on to this front thigh. Core engaged, leg straight if we can, footprint on that rear leg, top arm comes to a T. Maybe this top arm, if we want to, we can turn the hand toward the head, turn the elbow pit toward the head, and maybe bring this arm close to our ear. And now we try just whatever we can do. Can we squeeze that rear leg? Can we activate our core? Keep the ribs down. Can we use the glutes on the front leg? Try to open the hips a little. One more breath in. One more breath out. Keep the core engaged and come out of the position. Nice and easy. Good. And then we switch again. Side angle on the other side. The right thigh is completely supported by the seat of the chair. Left leg is working its way back if possible. As upright as possible. Can I squeeze the muscles on the rear leg? Core engaged. Take the front arm, that right arm, bend it 90 degrees. And we're going to tip sideways and rest the forearm on the thigh. Pull both shoulders down. Breath in. Breath out. Engage the core. Engage the muscles. Maybe the top arm comes to a T. Can we turn this top hand toward the skull? Can we turn that elbow pit toward the skull? Can we bring this arm up overhead? Now what else can we do? Can we use the glutes of that front leg to help open the hips? Can we find the core to keep the ribs down? Squeeze that rear leg. Kegels engaged. One more breath in. One more breath out. Keep the core engaged, please. Come on out of the position nice and easy. And any way we can, we just shift ourselves back to a seated position. Here I'm just kind of, it's not really technically windshield wipers, but I'm just moving my legs side to side just to release some tension through the hips. Getting some blood flow back into the low back and hips. All right. Good. Nice and easy. Let's come back to seated mountain pose, please. Feet about hip width apart. 90-degree bend on the knees, the hips. A slight posterior pelvic tilt. So we want to tuck the tail under a little bit. Core engaged. Forehead back, chin down, arms by your side. Breath in, breath out. Engage your core. And remember, we're anchoring through the pelvis. Breath in, breath out. Get tall. Push the pelvis into the chair. Lift your skull away from the pelvis. Breath in. Breath out. One more breath in. One more breath out. And release. Amazing. That is a very simple, very powerful chair yoga sequence. Do this 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week if needed. Use this as a way to take a break from other types of yoga. Use this as a way to experiment and try to feel different muscles working and different angles on your pelvis and your legs. It's a very powerful tool. I hope you got something from class today. I care about you and I appreciate you. Namaste.